this is Savara from Scrappy Mania, and today I have a gift idea for you. If you're like me, a scrapbooker, a card maker, mixed media artist, and just overall crafter, you know you have a lot of papers and cards and things like that in your arsenal to create your art. Well, this year I want to go ahead and create something handmade. And what I decided to do this year is, because I have a lot of stamps and I bought a lot of sentiment stamps, that I'm going to create thank you cards for gifts this year. And they're mainly for my friends, my coworkers, people from church, because you always need a thank you card. And what best to have some already pre-made, so when you do get a gift, they can pull out their thank you card, fill it out, and give it to whoever they need to give it. So thank you cards are very useful. You also may want to consider making some generic birthday cards, anniversary cards, whatever cards you think that they will use or they will need. So I made a prototype. Now the inspiration for this project came from Anna Griffin's Perfect Patterns, and these are coloring cardstocks. I did buy her stamps. I got her coloring cardstocks. I love Anna Griffin. So, and look at that. Those are beautiful, and I got those stamps. So I decided that I am going to use her stamps to create my cards this year. Now these are a little too big, so I don't want to create a 5x7, because to me it's a little more wasteful. I like using smaller cards, especially for thank you notes, and because I can get 2 cards out of an 8.5 by 11 rather than having to cut this and get a lot of extra little pieces that I'm not going to use. 12 by 12 doesn't really cut it either. And I think I'm going to make another video by taking a 12 by 12 and cut it in half and trying to make a little pocket for those, so that way we can create something like this, but with our 12 by 12 paper. But in this tutorial, we are going to address the ones that are 5.5 by 4.25. And these are these cards. I buy them at Michael's, but I'm not going to use these. These are just, I was using these to see if it's going to work. I am going to use just cardstock, nice cardstock. I'm going to stamp it and then put it in here. But as you can see by this prototype, that it fits nicely. You guys, your envelopes on one side, you got your cards on another side. It closes. I'm going to put a little Velcro closure. I'm going to cover it with some designer paper, and it's going to look, I think it's going to look very nice. So what you're going to need for this is about 3 pieces of cardstock. You're going to need 1 piece you're going to cut, and this is the outside. So the outside piece, this piece right here, you're going to cut it 9.5 by 5 3/4, and it's going to get scored at 3.5 and then 1 inch, and that creates that little book like that. Then you're going to cut another piece, or 2 pieces, to make your pockets, these pockets, and these will be 8.25 by 7 3/4. We're going to score at 1 inch on the 7 3/4 side, so you're going to score 1 inch. So 1/2 inch and then 1/2 inch. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. And then on the 8 and, actually on the 8 and, this one, on the 8 1/4 side, you're going to score at the 3 inch mark, 1 inch after that. And I'll show you how that's going to work. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is cut my paper. Oh, and before I forget, to cover your paper, you're going to need, actually this one, let me write it here. This one was 3 1/2 by 5 3/4. So you're going to need 2 of those. You're going to need a 9.5 by 5 3/4, and I think this is a little big, but we'll gauge it once we put it on there. And then you're going to need a 9.5 by 5 3/4, and this is going to be the outside. So I'll show you how that works. So I got it pre-cut for our box. You're going to take your cardstock, so nice heavy-duty cardstock. And I'm using the We Are Memory Keeper trimmer and scoreboard. And to trim, you take the flap out, and then you use the top here to measure. So I'm going to measure on here. This one is going to be 8 1/4. Okay, by 7 3/4. And you're going to do that times 2. So let me go ahead and get another one. Put that aside. Then you're going to cut another piece by 9 1/2. So I hope you've seen that. 9 1/2. My whole trimmer doesn't fit on the screen here, so I apologize for that. 9 1/2 by 5 1/4. Let's make sure I got it right. No, 5 3/4. 5 3/4. Save these pieces of paper. These are great for making tags, making sentiments, you name it. They're very good. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up here. Now I'm ready to score. So when you score, you're going to bring in the flap in. So this is going to score. You're going to bring out your scoring tool. And on this one, you're going to turn it towards the 9 1/2 side, as you can see here. Going to turn it to the 9 1/2 side, 9 1/2, and you're going to score, let's make sure I got it right, at 4 1/4. So 4 1/4, and then 1 inch of that, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/4. Oops, went off the track. Okay, and then we're going to fold those over. Okay, so there's the outside. Put that aside. Now we're going to take the piece that we cut at 8 1/8 and by 7 and no 8 1/4 by 7 3/8. Let me make sure I have that right. I made one here. Yep, 8 1/4 by 7 3/8, and I measured it to make sure it fits perfect. Yeah, that was it. Okay, make sure I got it right. And then in this one, you're going to score at 3 1/2, and then at 4. Then you're going to turn it around to the 7 3/8 side, 7 3/8, and you're going to score at a 1/2 inch and then 1 inch. I'm going to turn it around, 1/2 inch and then 1 inch. Okay, and you score. Do your fold over your score lines. I hope this comes out. I've been making a lot of prototypes just to get the measurement just right. And this cardstock looks like it's going to work very nice. It's nice and sturdy. This cardstock is the Recollection 110 pounds. I recommend that you use the 110 pound. Before I cut this, let's go ahead and do the same thing with the other one. So at the 8 1/4 side, we're going to score at 3 1/2. And then 4. Turn it over to the 7 3/4 side. On the 7 3/4 side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch. And then 1 inch. And it's easy for me to turn it around and trying to calculate over here. So then you're going to do 1/2 inch. And 1 inch. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to score it. Okay, so now we're done with all the scoring. Now we're ready to cut. So if you notice here, this side is the 4 1/4. So you're going to cut these two areas right here, these two score lines. You're going to cut to the second score line all the way down to that first score line that you see there. Cut that off. Okay, then you're gonna go ahead and cut all the way down that second score line to create your tab, and then you're gonna cut this piece off, and then you're going to taper the ends here a little bit. Okay, what you're actually doing is the tab. This is going to glue here on the second score line. So it's going to glue here on the second score line, and then this is going to fold over to create your box like that. Okay, so that is essentially what we're doing. You're going to do the same thing over here. You're going to cut this, cut all the way down. Cut all the way down your tab to that second score line. Cut these off. Cut this one off. Okay, and you want to cut, this is the 4 1/4 side. This is the 3 inch side. So when you put it up, oops, this is going to be a little shorter. So the little shorter side needs the tab, the little longer side does not need the tab. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to glue, just making sure it fits perfect. Yep, you're going to glue this here. Okay? And if you can even cut a little more. Let me cut in a little more. That bumpy score line, let me cut it off like that, so that way it fits perfect on there. Yep, it's going to be perfect on there. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on this side. So this is the 4 1/4 side. So notice how it's different. This is a little larger. See how it's a little larger than this one. So you want to cut the 4 1/4 to that first score line. Okay, so now I created these tabs. So now it's time for gluing all this together. So let me go ahead and get this. It's pretty nasty, so let's go the other side. Not much better, but we'll see. We're going to cover all this up. So now I'm going to get some nice aggressive glue. I'm just using some Elmo glue. And let's go ahead and glue it. I had a little bit of issue with the Elmo's glue. So you need a tacky glue, and the Elmo glue that I was using was not tacky enough. It kept getting undone. So eventually you'll see here that I will pull my tacky glue, and the reason why I pulled the Elmo's glue because my tacky glue was very thick. But you'll see how I use a little popsicle stick or a little metal stick to use my more tacky glue to get this on. And I don't think that glue is good. Let me look for a really tacky glue. That might work better. Oh, my glues are not the best, so tacky glue is very thick. Probably need some tumble adhesive. I think if I use tumble adhesive, it'll work a lot better for this project. So I need to get some of that for my next boxes. But this is just a prototype. I just want to teach you how to make it. And I want to see if it comes out. Yeah. Way better glue. I made like about 6 of these boxes, and I used hot glue. And I bought some new hot glue sticks made by Gorilla, and I'm hoping those will keep up. So far, they're keeping up with the structure of the box. And then I use regular fabric tack glue to put my pages or the designer paper on these boxes for decorations. You want to make sure that it's really even there. And on the other side, want to make sure that it's nice and even. Okay. Now I'm going to put some glue all over here. So now you're going to put some glue on the tabs for each of your box, making sure that when you do put the glue on and you close the paper on to make your box, that you make a straight box. Sometimes as you glue things together, it glues wonky. So you have to make sure, do it very carefully, and close the lid to make your box, and make sure that the lid is perfectly aligned with the side, so that way it doesn't create a wonky box. So take your time and make sure that it's nice and square. Turn it over and then use my scoring tool to really press that down. The reason why I don't use double adhesive is because I want some play with it. I don't have good luck with that double adhesive really aggressive tape, because where you lay it down, it sticks. While this, I have a little play with it. So that's why I don't use that really aggressive tape. Okay, let's do the same thing with this one. I went ahead and speed it up. But you do the same thing. You just put the glue and make sure that you take your time, and that when you glue the pieces together, that it actually is square, and that it creates a nice little box. Get it nicely adhered there. So it looks like it's nicely adhered. Look at the inside. Looks good. Make sure your tabs and everything, it's making contact with the paper. And the reason why I want to use paper too to cover this, I'm going to use this to cover it, this pattern paper, because if you notice on Anna Griffin's, well, I don't know if you have it or not, but because these tabs are right there, so you see how she has tabs there too, it catches. See how it catches? So you have to like finagle it a little bit, move it, and then close it. I don't want them doing that. I want them to be able to slide it out and slide it in, and by putting a piece of paper here, they'll be able to do that. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and place this here. Let me make sure it's going to work before we put it on. I want to make sure it fits. Okay. And then the other one's going to be on here. And it looks like it's going to work nicely. See? Nice little box. So, let's see. What glue can I use to make sure this doesn't move? Okay. I found this Fabri-Tac. Let's use this. Really? I'll be back. Okay, let's see if this is going to cooperate with me. I want to make sure I have enough on the edges. Actually, this works pretty nice. Let's see. Yep. Works very nice. I like that glue. Okay. Let's go ahead and put the other one on. One reason why I shy away from this glue is that one time I bought a bottle and I think I made the hole too big. It was just oozing and oozing and oozing and would not stop oozing from the bottle, and it really irritated me. So that's why I tend not to use it. But then I bought another bottle because I do a lot of flowers and crafting with fabric, and it's Fabri-Tac, so it's supposed to be very good for fabric. So that's why I bought another bottle. But this time I was smarter, I think. I made the hole smaller, and it seemed not to have the issue that I had before. So, very nice. So there. So far, so good. Okay? So there's my little box. So now we are going to decorate it. So before we decorate it, let's go ahead. This was cut 11 1/4 by 5 3/4. I did cut it a little bigger because I wanted to make sure that it will overlap. But let me make sure it fits. This, it does. So I might start with putting some here on the spine first. Actually, let's just go for it. Just go for it. pretty nice. Let me fold this over and then do the same thing here. Making sure you have enough on the edges so that way it really blend on the, so the edges won't start peeling off. I really don't like when the edges start peeling off. And that fits nicely there. And it came off a little there, so I'm just gonna trim that excess like so. I like how that looks so far. The next thing I'm going to put it inside, and I think I need to cut a little smaller. I do. So this was 9.5 by 5. I don't think it's 5 and 5 3/4. I think I cut it wrong. I'm having this cutter is kind of hard to cut things. Let's see. See, it wasn't. I did not cut it 5 3/4. So if you cut it 5 3/4, you should be okay. I cut it a little bigger than that. Oops. This cutter is a little different how you measure the size than regular cutters. So just got to be cautious if you have this cutter. I think now it's good. And I think I'm going to cut it a little smaller than that. So let's try cutting it at 5 5/8. Just a tad smaller. So 5, and I'll put notes on my cheat sheet here. 5 5/8 will be the measurement. Let's make sure it fits. Fits nicely. It's good like that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put it in there. This is going to be interesting how to line this box. Maybe I'll decide not to line it after all, but we'll see. Let's see how we can do this. I'll make sure I have my edges, and I better put this on. You don't want to have glue on your grooves here because that may damage it. So let's go ahead. Interesting how this is gonna come out. Let's see if I can get this in the box, and making sure that I have it upside. I don't put it upside down. Well, it goes like this, goes like this. These are directional papers, so you got to make sure you have the direction right. Okay. Oops, 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 oops. Let's see, let's see, let's see. Oops. Nope, it's not all the way in. That's why. So maybe you should cut it a little smaller. So let's put it. Now it's all the way in. Cut it a little tad smaller than 9.5. Maybe 9 would have been good if I would have. In hindsight, I'm going to revise my notes and put 9 inches. Okay, let's do this over again. Let's cut it 9 inches. So instead of 9.5, let's just cut 1/2 inch off, and let's see what's the difference on that. So it's going to be 9 by 3 5/8 would be the measurements. do this again. Now, it did work out how to, the dimensions of the box. This was an afterthought, so bear with me. You can just skip this if you want. I just don't let things go. I got to make sure it works. So I'm going to struggle with this until it lays flat in there. Yay, Eureka! Done! Maybe we should leave the inside without having any paper. But it looks so cute with the paper. Anyhow, and then, oops. Okay, let's see if maybe this is a recommendation not to do. And I think it's going to be a recommendation. Don't put a lining in, because it crinkles the paper. You know, when you fold it, it doesn't fold nicely. See? So maybe you don't want to line it, or if you line it, maybe put glue just on the set and leave the other ones without glue. I don't know. I think this is going to be my box. I'll let you figure out how to put lining to line or not to line. That is the question. But, yeah. Probably not to line. Anyhow, let's go ahead and put these on. Hopefully this won't disappoint me. And with the whole commotion, I lost the other piece. Oh, here it is. Okay, let's go ahead and put this one on. Maybe we can, you know what? We probably could stamp the inside with a nice decorated stamp and like an all over pattern. A nice background stamp would be nice before we put it together. That will work, I think. And that way it has a little color inside and you don't have to line anything. Oh, I forgot. This is 3.5 by 5 3/4. The other thing I didn't like about this too is that if you twist it too hard, you crack this, and then that's what happened with my other one, and it all dried up. Didn't like it either. Hopefully I have a better luck with this bottle. I like it, except for that crinkle. I think it's going to drive me nuts. But that's how it's going to be. So here you have it. I don't have any Velcro, and since it's a prototype, I'm not going to even waste time with the Velcro. But you may want to put a Velcro like she did here, and then nice and it'll close nicely. Or if you have magnets, you can probably put a magnet underneath the paper, and then it'll close nicely. But let's test out. So the thing is, did I get my measurement right that a regular A2 card will fit? Let's see. Yes, it does, and look how smooth it goes in. Yes! Let's go and give some envelopes. Or postcard. Oops. Oh yeah, it fits. Barely. So, bummer. Really? My envelopes are a little bigger. So I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board. Stay tuned for the second video on, you know what, this will be good for postcards. Yes, I created a video how to create postcards. So maybe they're going to get thank you postcards without the envelopes. Anyhow, I don't know why it fits on this one and not on that one. and it's because it's flimsy paper. So I got to go back to the drawing board. If you want, stay tuned for the second video on how to create a card box that will fit A2 cards plus its envelope. But this tutorial now is going to be titled How to Create a Box for Making Postcards. Thank you for watching. Bye now.